And you guys, before we took that last break, I told you how we learned about a convicted father in Cobb County who now walks a free man. Justin Ross Harris was convicted of murdering his 2-year-old son, Cooper, in 2014 when he left him in a hot car and then went to work, but he was recently acquitted. And while his recent release from prison has sparked mixed emotions from the community, it made me think that forgetting a child in a car is a tragedy that could easily happen to anyone under the right circumstances. And as we come through this holiday weekend, I think it's a good time for a reminder to stay vigilant. So joining us now with some advice and a few tips is Amber Rollins. She's the Director of Kids and Car Safety. Amber, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So now, I understand Harris's case was pretty unique because there were some other things that were at play in the courtroom. But this tragedy is not all that uncommon. It really could happen to anybody. And with some information that you sent us, just over a week, we've seen 5 infant deaths across the country. What is this? Is this a spike? Can I call it that?
Yeah, this is definitely, a lot of deaths in a short amount of time. About this time last year, we had 8 fatalities. This year total, we've had 12. And last year, 41 children died nationwide. And this is something that's not going away. We really, really need to focus, and parents need to be aware, like you said, this can happen to anybody, even a loving, responsible parent.
And I know that most people, when they hear us talk about stuff like this, they're always like, well, that would never be me because I would know. But it really could happen to anybody. I mean, with distractions, maybe it's a different parent doing the pickup. There are a lot of things at play. What do you wish every parent understood about this?
Well, I wish parents would take the time to understand how the competing memory systems in our brain work, because there's a part of our brain called the basal ganglia that controls habit memories, and it is unable to account for changes in your habit or your routine, like driving from home to work. So if you have a change in your normal routine and all of the right circumstances fall into place, I always call this like the Swiss cheese model, then that is what allows this to happen to even a parent who's super responsible, attentive, safety-minded, and it's just the right circumstances aligning in combination with that change in routine and, operating in autopilot mode, which is not something we consciously choose to do.
What are some, I guess you could say, simple habits that a parent or a caregiver could form? Because like you said, it is something that's in our brains that if you're not used to doing it and all of a sudden you switch things up, it could easily go, I guess, badly. So what are some simple habits that we could start forming now that will help us?
So we want parents to look before you lock. What that means is open the back door of your car every single time you park and check the back seat. Something you can do to get in the habit of doing that is to put an item that you can't start your day without. Your employee badge, your laptop, your cell phone. It's not that that item's more important than the child. It's that if you don't have it and you forgot to open that back door, you're going to have to go back to the car and get it because you need it. That's one thing. The next thing is grab a stuffed animal. Everybody's got them laying around. Put it in the back seat of your car. It lives there. Anytime you buckled baby into the car, you put that stuffed animal up front with you in your lap as a visual and physical cue and reminder that your child is with you. Mm-hmm. If you do happen to miss daycare drop off and you're operating in autopilot mode, when you get to your destination, you're going to realize there's a stuffy in your lap, and that's going to be your reminder. And I know this sounds crazy to people who love their children. I love my children. And it just doesn't make sense. It's so hard to understand how you could lose awareness that they're back there. But what's really interesting is these tragedies didn't happen until the mid 1990s when kids started riding in the back seat. And that's when we really saw them take off. And don't get me wrong, they're not safe up front. We got to keep them in the back seat because of those airbags, but it was an unintended consequence, and it puts them out of sight for the parents. And they're in a rear-facing car seat, which looks the same whether there's a baby in there or not. They fall asleep in the car, and unfortunately, under the right circumstances, they can be left behind.
Exactly. And I think another thing that's important to mention is it's not just leaving a child in the car. That's something that we always jump to, and that's the main thing that we think about. But there's also a chance that you could leave your car unlocked or open or something like that, and then a child finds their way in, and that could lead to a tragedy as well. What can we do to prevent that?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very easily preventable thing. So it is important to understand about 25% of these deaths happen that way. And of those 25% of the kids who get in on their own and can't get back out, 68% are little boys. So much higher risk for the little guys. They love cars, they want to pretend to drive, and they're just drawn to them. So be extra careful if you have boys. If your child goes missing, you should immediately check the inside floorboard and trunk of all vehicles in the area. But as a proactive prevention, we want to do a few layers of protection. Number one, keep your car locked, even if you don't have kids. If you do have children in your home, keep the keys and fobs out of reach 100% of the time. If it's locked and they don't have the key fob, they can't get in. So you can also like childproof those doors to your home leading to the outside, because a lot of times this is a situation where the child sneaks out of the house and the parent doesn't realize it right away. And you can use doorknob covers. You can buy little stick-on alarms that will sound a chime if somebody is unexpectedly opening a door and leaving. Those are great. You don't have to have eyeballs on them to know that they're, opening that door and getting into a dangerous situation. And talk to your kids, even at a very early age, before you think that they're even capable of sneaking out of the house. Tell them it's not okay ever to get in a car without a grown-up. That's not a safe place for you.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad that you brought up the doorknob covers and the alarms, because the last time we talked, we discussed front overs and back overs when you're pulling out of your driveway and you don't realize there's a little one scurrying across behind you. And so those don't just, it wouldn't just stop your child from finding their way in the car. We discussed how that can also stop them from getting outside and possibly getting hit. So sounds like a pretty good investment. Now, I know kids and car safety has pretty much been all over the trying to get the mandate set that all new cars would come with hot car detection technology. What's the status on that?
Well, we got the law passed in 2021, and the law requires the U.S. Department of Transportation to issue a rule to the auto industry that they would have to include technology in all new cars to prevent this from happening. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, they are more than a year and a half past the congressionally mandated deadline. So they're required by law to issue that rule to the auto industry by December of 2022, and they still haven't done it. Meanwhile, children continue losing their lives and being seriously injured, and there's just no excuse. This should have been issued on time, no questions asked. And, on the other side of that is the auto industry has had this technology that can detect children in the car and provide alerts to save their life. They've had that available to them for years, and they're just not using it. It's only in a few select makes and models. So they've got to do much better, because children's lives are precious.
Absolutely. I will say I recently purchased a car, and thankfully mine does come with that technology. But just like you said, it's not a standard, it's not regulated across every vehicle. And it would, I guess, be nice to see that moving forward. With that being said, though, since it does seem like they're dragging their feet, what could automakers or lawmakers today who might be listening to this do now to speed up that process?
Well, the auto industry has the power and the ability to install this technology in their vehicles before it's required. Mm-hmm. It's the right thing to do. We're talking about babies here. The 88% are age 3 and under. I mean, they can't protect themselves. They can't even unbuckle their car seats if they wanted to. We have a responsibility to protect these children, and the solution is sitting on a shelf somewhere. What are you waiting for? Put it in your cars. We can do, different layers of protection too. Childcare facilities should be calling parents if a child doesn't show up as scheduled. And again, on the flip side of that, parents should be held responsible for letting your daycare know if you're not going to be there as scheduled. It's a phone call, and it could save a life. So many of these children were supposed to have been dropped off at daycare, and that one phone call would have been the difference.
Very real. Well, I want to give you the final thought because I know you have researched plenty of these cases. You have gone to bat for countless of grieving families. What's one thing, if you could just give one thing that you want people to hear loud and clear, especially this holiday weekend, what would that one thing be?
Take this seriously. Even if you really believe that this could never happen to you, I can promise you it could under the right circumstances. And just be extra, extra vigilant during times when your routine has shifted. Even minor changes can lead to a tragedy.
Amber, again, thank you for your time. Thank you for your expertise. We'll definitely try to reach out again the next time we have a topic of interest coming up. For you guys out there streaming with us, we are going to get you to a quick break, so don't go anywhere.